Hello, algoritmers and soulmates. This is the Court of Public Opinion, and I'm Al Reynolds, your host and judge. Please don't forget to hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that share button to make sure you invite your friends to come check it out. And don't forget, we love engagement, so leave a comment. Tonight, in the courtroom, we have two of our legal beagles, corporate attorney Kyra Coffey. Please get those coffee emojis together. Also joining us, we will have criminal defense attorney Brion Ross. Get those briefcase emojis together. All right, tonight in the courtroom, we're going to talk about Diddy's not the only one being exposed for paying for Tussy Cat. Kai Cenat allegedly gets caught or exposed for paying $5,000 for his lay. All right. Astroworld concert goers, the 10 individuals who died at this concert. We find out today that Drake got dropped from the lawsuit, as well as Epic Records. What's going on with Travis Scott? Speaking of people getting in trouble with the law, Real Housewives of Potomac's cast are really falling apart. If they're not getting fired, they're getting caught for DUIs. Which one was sent to the slammer for the night? And lastly, speaking of DUIs, a Tallahassee police officer got caught red-handed on her body cam, setting up a black man. All right, all here on your court of public opinion. Welcome to the courthouse. Court is in session. All right, legal beagles, let's start with Kai Cenat. All right, now, so allegedly, there is a woman out here that's exposing him for paying her $5,000 to have sex with him. Now, this is the kicker. He has now called up the courthouse and said, I want to file a lawsuit for defamation of character. Attorney Coffey, is this worth the money that he's spending on this? I mean, is it defamation of character? She exposing his text messages. She even showed that he paid $5,000 on Apple Pay. So where's the defamation?
So the tea is she done made it all up. Allegedly, that $5,000 transaction was really $50 for her to get an Uber over to Kai's house. Now, he is saying that the transaction isn't true, but he never denied, what actually happened. I don't know. But as far as the transaction, he's saying that it's false. Now, he hasn't quite filed a suit yet. He's saying, you'll hear from my lawyers. So the only thing that he could reasonably sue for would be for defamation and slander. Now, the thing with defamation and slander is most times, or all the time, you have to have some type of damages or harm from the statements that were falsely said against you. In this case, I don't really think he's going to have any damages unless he were to say, hey, because of that, I got dropped by a sponsor. But I don't see that happening. However, there is something called defamation per se, meaning that if something is so egregious or so offensive to your reputation that the court finds that it is offensive enough to still be labeled as defamation, regardless of the damages, then they'll still go forward with it and find the person who made the statements guilty of it. But going through all that and seeing if the judge is going to rule it as defamation per se is a draw of the hat, I don't really think it's worth it to go press forward in that way. But he might do it just to send a warning sign to anybody else who tries to play him in it. So I can see it going against the opposite.
Attorney Ross, please help me understand. What is the basis? Like, would you take this case if what's the basis of this case? I know you would take the case for the money, but no, you're saying you would take the case because Kai has got deep pockets. He might need your help legally in the future. But tell me, what's the basis here? It sounds to me that he's got a little bit of his ego is in all of this, and that he's upset that he is one of the largest, if not the largest, most popular streamer right now, and he's out here paying for Tussy Cat.
It seems to me that he's going to be caught up in a hush money trial with Donald Trump. I don't know who in their right mind is going to believe that you pay $5,000 for someone to catch an Uber over to your house. Stop it, okay? So if you do go forward with your defamation case and you have that as part of your case in chief, who's going to believe that you're going to get on a stand and say, "What you pay $5,000 for?" I paid her to drive over my house. For what? What, you gonna eat some cereal? You trying to have some cookies? Stop it, dude. You are paying for Tussy Cat, and it's obvious. But what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Maybe not a lot. I don't know. But you're paying for it. Not to me, your defamation suit's going nowhere.
Now, Attorney Coffey, you're saying that he said it wasn't $5,000, that it was $50, and he gave $50 for the Uber. What does she have to provide? Because my whole thing is, Kai Cenat, if you're lying, she's got to transfer the money from her Apple Pay to her bank account, and all she has to do to expose you is to show that that happened. Attorney Coffey, what say you? Can you hear me?
I would say that.
So here's the deal. It's going to come down to whose records are actually accurate and truthful. She is showing a text message that says $5,000, but we all know that those can be finessed and finagled. I don't really know. He actually went through like his transactions in his wallet to show that there was no transaction to her for that amount, and that there was one, but it was for the $50, not $5,000. So if it were to go to court, then it would come down to who can actually substantiate and validate their records.
Okay, so you think that, in essence, the reason for him being so aggressive on pushing back and wanting to sue was to possibly stop other people, Attorney Ross, to stop other people from what? Coming after him lying? You're on mute.
I want to pick up where Ms. Coffey left off at. And where she left off at was that it boils down to the records. Be careful who you sue. Because if you sue a person, they can file a request for production of documents, interrogatories, admissions, all type of things to dig into your accounts, your life, and what comes out of that can be very scary. So if you're going to sue this person, and then she decides to countersue you and or respond to your lawsuit, there's no telling what comes out of this. You got to think twice, man. Maybe it's just better not to hang around her.
Good advice right there, Attorney Ross, because I can tell you one thing that none of us want is for people to dig around.
No, that's not what you want.
Especially a young guy who's making tons and tons and tons of money. You really don't want them to dig around in your transactions. You never know what you be paying for. All right, young man, you understand what I'm saying? All right, let's keep it moving. You remember Astroworld? You remember that incident? What did the concert in which left 10 individuals dead? What we found out so far is that 4 of the 10 who died settled out of court, leaving 6 individuals who still have not settled. The good news for Drake and his record label is that they have been dropped from the lawsuit. But what's going on, Attorney Coffey, with Travis Scott?
So Travis, as of today, or as of Monday, actually filed for he already filed for a motion for him to be dismissed as a defendant as well. But the hearing was held this Monday, and we don't know what the outcome will be. He is alleging that he was there as a performer, that he was part of the creative direction team and part of acquiring the talent, but that he was not involved with the security and safety of the event, that as a performer, he has no obligation, and that's not his training. So that's his stance. However, the families are saying that he did let out a tweet that said, "We are sneaking in the wild ones." So they're saying that you oversold the event and you entice people to, I guess, overcome the whatever barricade there was and sneak in and make it even more people than what should have been there. So the families are saying that he specifically enticed people to come and that it was beyond the amount of people that should have been allowed on the grounds. And he is saying that as a performer, and even in his role with the development of the event, that he didn't have an obligation to the safety and security.
Attorney Ross, I think I don't like Attorney Coffey talking about entice. What he did was he incited a riot. He incited a riot, just like Trump incited an insurrection. And in this courtroom, we will not play with words to downplay a person's influence on killing people. 10 lives ended up in somebody's graveyard or in someone's urn. And
Yes.
4 of those people settled, 6 have not. Tell me, Attorney Ross, how can someone who created Astroworld, the name, created Astroworld, the concert series, the person who created all of this now is taking plausible deniability because he can take control of everything except for the one that left him most liable? Help me out, Attorney Ross. I just don't understand how the courts are going to let him sneak this through and even make it legal for him to say that he had nothing to do with this.
Well, you got to go back to one thing, that he wasn't charged with a crime. The Houston jury declined to indict him for a crime. Once that happened, he was emboldened. So he says, it wasn't me. They did this on their own. That's his story. He has to stick to it. 2 words for everybody watching today: indemnification clause. Indemnification clause. When he signs those contracts that had a whoop, whoop, whoop going down, he has to agree to pay people back. So he's kind of running. Now he has insurance and they're fighting it for him, but he's on the hook. I agree with you, Judge. I don't think he's getting out of it that easy.
So tell me, what is this indemnification clause? I'm not understanding what you're saying, and exactly what does that mean in legal terms for those who are not legal beagles?
Well, when he signs these contracts, he says, my name is Travis Scott. I won't, let me be extreme. I won't take a gun and start shooting into the audience. I won't take a bottle and throw it and catch it on fire. I'm going to act in good faith and do everything I'm supposed to do to make sure that no one gets hurt. And there you go.
Okay,
So
now stay right there for a second, Attorney Brion Ross. From what the videos that I saw, everyone was trying to tell Travis Scott to stop, that people were being trampled, that there was trouble in the audience. But look, he shrugged it off and he kept singing. Is this against that clause, possibly?
Possibly. And you know what else I wonder if was he under the influence of alcohol and drugs? If he was under the influence of alcohol and drugs and couldn't hear them, I think the Houston police told him there was too crowded too. Didn't they say it was too many people? Like it exceeded the capacity.
They didn't have like security, the right amount of security.
Correct. So he's got a tough legal battle, and that trial starts next month, as a matter of fact. So he's got a tough legal battle ahead of him on this issue.
So is this a civil trial? Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. It's not criminal. Remember, the criminal case didn't happen.
Okay. Attorney Coffey, you wanted to add something to that ridiculous statement you said earlier?
I'm not saying that there is absolutely nobody at fault in liability. The question is, who was responsible for the safety and security of the event itself? I am not saying that Travis is completely absolved of that, but I do not see that he was the one that was responsible over the safety and security protocols and plans for the event. So that is where I'm concerned on, does this liability extend to him? Now, with regards to the tweet and him instigating more people to come to the event, okay, there may be some liability there, but I don't think that it should all fall on him. I've been to Astroworld the first year it came out. I was like, hey, come back. It was a lot of kids there. A lot of children were under the influence of drugs and alcohol, very blatantly and obvious. And it was a lot to even get to the front of the main stage. I looked over there. I was like, absolutely not trying to fight through that crowd.
Okay.
So
Attorney,
again, I'm not sure if the liability falls on him or whoever was the.
Okay, we're having a little audio issue. I'm gonna give you that, Attorney Coffey, right now. But Attorney Brion Ross, in this case, wouldn't we look at the multiple examples in his past of his concerts where people have gotten hurt? People have died. People have been hospitalized. Aren't we going to look at that history as well? If I was the lawyers for the families, I would say, hey, he has a history of this. This isn't anything new. What's new is that at this particular 10 people died, but people have been getting injured, hospitalized, and hurt at his concerts for a long time, which they've been calling for reform in his security, and he's basically ignored it until 10 people died.
Well, he knew or should have known that this could happen based upon his actions, starting with the tweet and going through and inviting all those people. But the scariest thing for him is that he performed for an additional 35 minutes after all this happened. So he says, well, I wanted to stop and see everything. 35 minutes is a long time, people. I mean, 5 minutes, okay, 10, but a whole half hour. which means you saw this happening and you kept performing. And that's the problem he's going to have.
Well, all right, Attorney Ross, thank you for that. That's good to know. All right, everybody, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to throw some coffee cup emojis in that chat. Don't forget those briefcase emojis for Attorney Brion Ross in that chat. And hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, or share if you are, and invite some friends to come on over to the Court of Public Opinion. And don't forget us, me, as well as the Legal Beagles. Love it when you drop down in those comments and ask questions, but also let us know that you are enjoying the show. All right, moving on along. All right, DUIs. Is this DUI season or what?
Yes.
The Real Housewives of Potomac are not just having problems with keeping a cast, but they're having a problem with keeping a cast out of jail and from getting a DUI. Attorney Brion Ross, please, what is going on here? Who got the DUI? How was it determined a DUI and not a DWI? And maybe you could speak to the differences of a driving under the influence while driving. What's the DWI? Whatever. The difference, because I think a lot of our viewers and a lot of our listeners need to know the difference between a DUI and a DWI and all those other things that they can get you while under the influence. Talk to me.
Okay, Karen Huger on the Housewives of the Potomac, 8 seasons. She's semi-famous, 60 years old, looks fantastic, by the way, if you look at her pictures. She's driving her car, she's speeding, which is always a reason for the police to stop you. There's not much you can do to get out of that. And then bam, gets to a car accident. She gets out of the car. When a police officer stops you for a DUI, here's your free DUI lesson. They're looking for 3 things. 1, bloodshot eyes. 2, slurred speech. 3, smell of alcohol and or drugs. She had bloodshot eyes. She smelled like alcohol, and she had mumbled or slurred speech. At that point, the police officer can start a DUI investigation. Without that, in most jurisdictions, they can't ask you to submit to a DUI. So that's what she had going on. Now, she says the reason her eyes are bloodshot was because her mom and dad died 7 years ago. And 2017, 7 years ago, we are mourning. We respect that. Okay. Right. However, she was crying in the car. So if you have bloodshot eyes, you can say I was coming from my boyfriend broke up with me, my dog died, I got fired from my job, and your lawyer would take that and explain why your eyes are bloodshot. And that's clearly what she's doing here. How she gets around the smell of alcohol and the accident that she has is a whole nother conversation.
Attorney Coffey, if you were representing Karen, would you want her to make that statement that she was crying because her parents died or her mother died?
I would have said you don't say anything. Like you don't release a statement, especially one that is kind of funny. Like I'm not saying, I'm not dismissing mourning or grief or anything like that, but if you end up going to trial, which I believe she is going to trial, when I looked up the records, her attorney has requested for discovery and all sorts of stuff. So it's looking like she wants to go to trial. And if you do it by jury, if I was in the jury and I heard that, I'd be like, ma'am, you're sounding more like you were probably drunk and you don't want to admit that. Because she did say that she was out with friends and she may have had wine or something like that. But she refused the breathalyzer, which is already kind of, people have perceptions about that. Which is why her license was automatically suspended. I did think that it was interesting that when I was trying to find like an exact arrest record, I cannot find one. And even in trying to investigate it says that she was taken into custody. She received her citations when she was at the station, but that she was then released. So I'm like, are y'all out there? Some type of favoritism, or she might know the right people to pull some strings. Because I could not find an arrest record, and I tried. All of that, could not find it.
If she was a brother, she would have got arrested and spent the night in jail. They let her go. If that was me, they would have took my car and called my mama and sent me home. She got out of it somehow. The woman's got powers. Trust me, it doesn't happen.
Attorney Ross, let me ask you this. Speaking of powers, what is the difference between a DUI and a DWI?
The terms are used interchangeably. DUI stands for driving under the influence of something. Could be alcohol, could be marijuana, could be cocaine, could be a drug. DWI, driving while impaired, typically signifies just alcohol, but different states have them on have different terms on interchangeably the same thing. All that matters is the blood alcohol level. And like attorney said, she didn't blow. When you don't blow, the prosecutor can take that refusal to blow and tell the jury she didn't blow because she was drunk. They can say that. Now it has to be cleaner than that, but that's exactly what they're going to do with that statement. So don't think because you don't blow, you're getting out of it. They're going to bring it up at trial. It's going to come out.
Okay, and Attorney Coffey, how damaging could that be? Not blowing and also lying about the morning? Because if I were a defense against her, if I was a lawyer that was against her, wouldn't I just go and take statements from people that were working at the place that they were hanging out and say, hey, did you see her acting sad? Did you see her behaving in some type of way that exhibited her to be in a bad mood? Or was she chilling and laughing and joking with her girlfriends and having a good time? And lastly, can you remember how many cocktails you actually served her? Or do we have a credit card receipt with the number of cocktails on it? Are these all like is she really thinking this through? Or could she be possibly just thinking about a storyline? And this could be a good storyline for her.
I think hers was more on the PR side. I think that statement was on the personal side and not wanting people to perceive her a certain way. But absolutely everything that you raised, especially with her attorney raising the request for discovery, it does open that door, as well as video footage. How was she? What was her disposition when she left the facility, or, what state she was in? Because she actually crossed a median and ran into a pole. It was a very aggressive collision and accident. And so she is saying that she was crying and that her eyes had so many tears that she was trying to avoid a vehicle, but there was no other vehicle involved in the accident. So her statement raises more questions than it don't nothing.
You know what it sounds like to me? She was checking those Instagram posts to see if her girlfriends was about to get fired from the Real Housewives of Potomac and if they were going to let it out before the weekend. And she got going down through that. And Robin said, well, they didn't offer me. And she was like, what, child? No. And wasn't paying attention and looked up and she ran off the road and hit a tree, allegedly. I don't know, Attorney Ross. I just feel like she didn't think this one through. I think nowadays everyone has got to be very crystal clear on your lies, because nowadays there's so many ways an attorney can go back and prove that you're a liar. And once you're proved to be a liar about one thing, then what say you that you wouldn't lie about all the things, right?
Correct. So accurate. And the thing about it is she will have to show that the car accident wasn't a result of her being drunk either, that she was emotional. Because a lot of times in most jurisdictions, when you get DUI, they'll give you classes, you do a couple of mothers against drunk driving, and they do drop it eventually. It may take 6 months to a year, but they'll drop it. The one time they won't drop it is if there's a car accident involved. She's got to find out how to swing get the prosecutor to believe the story that she was in fact emotional and it wasn't about the DUI. It wasn't about the DUI. It was about her parents. And then they'll believe that sob story. They may let her have classes. That's what she did.
This is a good thing. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could, as long as there's not any type of vehicular wreck of some sorts, whether with someone or against property or something like that, that you could easily just get classes. This is very good information. All right, guys, y'all better drop some briefcases down in that daggone chat for Attorney Brion Ross tonight. And don't forget to add those coffee cup emojis for Attorney Kyra Coffey. All right, as we rotate into our last story, it's another DUI story, but very complex and very upsetting as well. A Tallahassee police officer is caught red-handed on her own body cam, planting evidence against a black man who was pulled over for drunk driving. All right, I really want to break this down because it seems like the activists in the town of Tallahassee and just in general are calling for reform. They're asking for the police officer to be fired. Attorney Coffey, what say you?
So in this situation, Calvin Riley was driving at a high speed with no headlights on. That is clearing one-on-one cops come pull me over. So they pulled him over. And again, if you ever get pulled over, do not admit to having had any drinks. He literally off the bat was like, yes, I was at a local bar and had some drinks. So with that being the case, they remove him from the vehicle. They asked him to do, field sobriety test, and he has bloodshot eyes. They say he smelled like marijuana. They did not find any in the vehicle. And then they went on to plant the evidence. Now, here is where it gets a lot of messed up. The female officer is seen on her own body cam going to the vehicle, removing a closed bottle like had never been opened. She opens it, she pours some out. She then puts it back in the car and goes to her fellow officer to tell them that, hey, there was an open bottle in the vehicle. Now, if there was an open bottle, they do have the ability to pour the remainder of the contents out if it was already open, but you can literally hear her break the seal. Now, when she got to the stand, she says, oh, it was a mistake. Ma'am, how was that a mistake?
Outrage.
Went along with this and did not say that there was any inappropriate behavior, no misconduct or anything like that. Now, the even crazier part is that the man is found guilty. He's found guilty because there was other evidence and he was found guilty by a jury. They believe that there was other evidence such as his slurs, because they were able to hear the audio of him talking, how he was walking, how he was moving, his body language that supported their finding that he was actually in fact intoxicated. So even though this evidence is severely tainted, there was still other evidence that the DA was able to show to support that he was driving under the influence.
Order in my court. I don't like it. I don't like the tainting. I don't like the lies. I don't like that she got on body cam. I don't like her being aggressive towards the black man. Attorney Ross, please tell me right now that if you were representing this guy, Keith, what would be your strategy? What would be your strategy? Would the strategy be to make this a public opinion call? Or what would be your strategy to like neutralize this officer practicing such it's unethical to tamper with evidence and to set up someone in this nature?
Terrible. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do you like steak? You like a steak, a nice juicy steak? Let's suppose you went all day waiting on this steak. You worked all week to go to this steakhouse. You got dressed up, you showed up, you sat down, they poured the water, you got your bread, you got your salad, but you're waiting on this steak to show up. And that steak shows up and you look at it and it smells good and the steam's coming off there and the peppers and the onions are on the side. And you look down at the steak and there's a small green circle. You can't eat that steak now. You're not going to say, cut that part out and give me the rest of it. You're going to send the whole thing back. And that's exactly what you do with that officer's testimony. That officer took that bottle out of that car, turned it upside down and put it back in the car. You know why? Because she wanted this black man to be convicted of DUI. You're going to take that steak from those police officers. You're going to send it right back where it came from. You're not going to find them guilty. And that's what they should have said. And that's not what they said. And that's why he got convicted. Terrible outcome. Terrible outcome.
What say the attorney Coffey?
Why y'all making me the bad guy today? But I completely disagree.
I'll be the bad guy. I got no problem. I can flip it and be the prosecutor in 2 seconds. Good finish. I got no problem.
No. You just roused something inside of me today, attorney Coffey. Order in the court. This is my courtroom. Order in the court, Coffey. Order in the court before I strike you off. Before I strike you and not allow you to talk to the court no more. All right, just kidding. All right.
So the stop itself was legitimate. He was driving without his headlights on and at a high speed. So the stop is valid. Now, the evidence of the bottle, yes, that factor should be thrown out, which I don't know if it was exactly, but yes, I do agree that the testimony around that should be not valid for the jury to hear. However, there was other evidence presented. That is a great thing about the judicial system. I don't know, it don't work all the time, but you present multiple and levels of evidence so that if they don't believe this, let's add all these other things together to then reach a decision. And all the other stuff added up. That man, yeah, that was messed up. That shouldn't have happened to you, but you were drunk at the end of the day.
Can I say one thing? Here's
Okay.
not to cut
There
you off,
should
but
be
here's the
some
crazy thing. The jury trial was being conducted, Attorney Coffey, by what's called a certified legal intern. This person has not taken the bar exam. They have not become a lawyer. They're an intern at Florida State. So this lawyer, the public defender who he had, got beat by a person who just stepped in the courtroom a couple hours ago. That makes you raise a lot of questions.
Oh, sure does. Okay, all right. See, this is the reason why you watch the court of public opinion all right here. But our likes aren't liking everybody. Please hit that like button because the number of viewers versus the likes is just not adding up. Please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, please hit the share button and don't forget to drop down in our comments on the replay. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight at the courthouse at the Court of Public Opinion. All right, Attorney Coffey and Attorney, we go to the attorneys to get our verdict. Okay, resume. Okay, this is the part of the show where we go to our attorneys for the verdict, starting with Kai Cenat. All right, Attorney Brion Ross, is he guilty or not guilty? Is she guilty? Well, let's go with her. Is she guilty or not guilty for defamation of character?
She's not guilty of defamation of character. She knew what she was going over there to do, and so did he.
All right, got it. Attorney Coffey, is the young lady guilty or not guilty of defamation of character?
She's wrong, but no lawsuit, no defamation.
All right. And in the court of public opinion, the judge, Al Reynolds, is going to say she is not guilty. Verdict is not guilty for defamation of character. Come on, Cenat. You know what the heck you were doing, and you know you paid for it. All right. Allegedly. All right. Let's keep going. Astroworld, Drake was dropped. Epic Records was dropped, but Travis Scott has not. Does that mean that Travis Scott is still on the line? Or is Travis Scott off of the line? On the line or off the line, Attorney Ross?
He's still on the line. He's not going to get out of this. He's going to have to go to trial and dig his way out of this one. He's still on the line.
Okay, Attorney Coffey, should Travis Scott have to go to court even though he had nothing to do with the hiring of security?
I think that he might be able to get dismissed as a defendant on this. I'm not saying that my heart agrees with that, but if I'm looking at liability where it falls on the appropriate parties, I think he might be able to get dismissed.
All right. This is a court of public opinion, and I, the judge, I'm going to say cannot be dismissed. I think that he's going to have a little bit of trouble on his hands. I think it's hard when you settle with 4 and not the other 6 and expect to get off. All right, keep it going. Karen Kruger. Is it Cougar or Kruger? Cougar. Karen Kruger for the Real Housewives of Potomac said that she wasn't drunk. Is she guilty or not guilty, Attorney Coffey?
She guilty. She is guilty. That girl was drunk. I mean, hey, take an Uber next time. But ma'am, you know you was drinking. Drunk.
Attorney Ross, guilty or not guilty?
I wouldn't be true to my criminal defense career if I didn't side with the not guilty. She's not guilty. She was crying. Her mom and dad died 7 years ago, but it's okay.
All right, in the court of public opinion, I'm going to say guilty. Guilty as charged. All right, last but not least, the Tallahassee police officer caught red-handed, planting evidence on a poor black man, even caught on her body cam. Is she guilty or not guilty for illegal practices? Attorney Ross.
Guilty, and she should be fired.
Absolutely. Attorney Coffey.
They both guilty. She guilty of her misconduct, and he's guilty of the DUI.
Absolutely. The court of public opinion find both the Kevin as well as the officer, the Tallahassee officer, guilty. Guilty as charged. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching the court of public opinion. Let's put those coffee emojis in the chat for Attorney Kyra Coffey, and let's put those briefcases in the emojis in the chat for Brion Ross. Don't forget to join us back here in the courthouse at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern is our new time for the show, The Court of Public Opinion. I am Al Reynolds, the judge and the host. Everybody have a great night.
Bye.